the Indian Muslims in these areas, they are annoyed with the way the migrants have come and bought land. So they are the ones who are squealing and giving information and being the khabris, because those who have come, they are getting political support, because those who exist already, they have served their purpose. So now the new ones who are coming, they are buying the land. They are establishing, political contacts.
So the concern is less to do with Bharat's territorial integrity. The concern has got more to do with the loss of employment and livelihood, even if it comes from, let's say, Indian Muslims.
Yeah.
So, fair enough. For whatever reason, at least it's working to our advantage. The point is slightly different. The NRC as an exercise has received the blessings of the Supreme Court for quite some time, coupled with the fencing of that particular border. I don't know how much of that has translated to action on the ground. I genuinely don't know. Deportations are good and they're important, but I don't think they do the job. At least they don't do the job enough. Because the numbers which come in are, how do I put it? It's multifold compared to the drops that are going out. And I think this figure has been quoted often. If in 1999, Lieutenant General Sinha's report basically said that there were close to 1.9 crores across the country. I'm saying in 2025, what do you think the number would have become? When the Rohingya issue was first raised, I think in 2006, 15, 16 or 17, around that period, then General Atta Hasnain put out a tweet basically giving their numbers, the number of people there and how many of them were actually pregnant. He put out that figure saying this would lead to a demographic explosion. He made the statement very clearly. He said this, he was conscious of it. Right? Now, we don't know what the numbers are and they've spread across the country. If you really want to address this, you need something on the lines of an ICE in Bharat, which is a separate immigration task force which does this job so that you don't hand over or delegate this job to the state police anymore.
That would be explosive at this stage.
Either you wait for the explosion of Bharat or you handle an explosive situation. The choice is yours. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. I don't understand what is unconstitutional about this. Anything can be a subject of a furor in the parliament, or any kind of nonsense can be discussed for hours at end. That Vande Mataram is the subject of discussion is a shame for this country. I'm sorry to say this. Considering that, I don't think we have time for these academic conversations anymore. The clock is ticking. You're racing against time at this point. I gave these figures. I chapterized this book in a certain fashion because I said this is no more a discussion of social media tu meme. It has gone much beyond that. Wake up and smell the coffee. Okay? Therefore, you need a separate task force, separate commission of funds, central oversight into this, separate tribunals for this. If you don't do this, your existing judicial system coupled with your, let's say law enforcement system it does not have the wherewithal to handle this problem. Just as, let's say, on the company law board, you have technical members with an insight into how company matters are supposed to be handled. Either they are chartered, let's say, accountants or company secretaries or people with extensive backgrounds from the bureaucratic side. You need people from the security establishment manning or, let's say, womaning these tribunals, at least as one of the members with a judicial member for oversight. If you don't do that, you're looking at serious problems.
Who's got the gumption to do all this?
I hope the government that enjoys the will of the people has the gumption to do this.
You're seeing the backlash over the SIR issue. You're seeing what is happening with with various institutions, with the election commission. I mean, you think judiciary
halla ho raha hai, madam. So I expect that this will happen for SIR or something else. I don't think that's something that should bog us down. You have to decide that if the interest is to protect the civilization and its territorial borders and its integrity, demography-wise and, let's say, the border-wise, you have to act on this. I'm asking for something that's perfectly constitutional, that doesn't come at the expense of anybody's rights. It doesn't come at the expense of any legitimate citizens' rights. There are enough safeguards that can be built into this. But at least start talking about this. Everything starts with Saraswati, goes to then Lakshmi, and then it ends in Durga. Which means you have to start with a theoretical foundation for it. You have to set up an explanation for why, the what and how. And then you have to throw in the resources to make it happen. And finally, you wield the weapon of the state to make it happen one way or another. That's how this has to happen.
Okay. How do you differentiate between refugees, genuine migrants, illegal migrants?
It's not as if these terms are unknown to the law as it stands. It's not as if we have not applied it to any of these tribunals for deportation that we've used in Assam. Nor is it unrecognized in international humanitarian law. We know exactly what we're talking about.
But now we're going to do retrospectively find loopholes.
Do it at least as far as you can. Because I'm not saying that let's go back to the 1947s or the 1950s. I'm just saying let's start the process and see how much of this process effort is to push the cutoff by.
Look, the pushback which is happening politically,
Right.
that goes to show that the local population is not with those who will enforce what you are saying is going to happen. Because you need support from the local population also. Forget about the political dispensation, which is anyway not going to be.
Fortunately, some of these issues they're exclusively within the remit of the center under the constitution. For somebody to make statements from the pulpit to say that, I'm sorry, we will not allow these exercises to be conducted in the state. So what? You're a union for God's sakes, and it is an established position that as far as the federal system is concerned in Bharat, it tilts more towards the unitary system to prevent this kind of secessionism, to prevent this kind of regionalistic nonsense. So if someone says that, you crack down on them. When will you do this?
Tamil Nadu has said we will not allow
Doesn't matter. Who are they to say this? It's unconstitutional. Who are they to say this? It doesn't matter. You need to set the tone by consistently speaking about it, by consistently writing articles about it, by consistently spreading awareness about it. Tell people what does this translate to. Some people may understand nationalism, some people may understand mercantilism. Sell it whichever way possible. Tell them what does it translate to. If it's loss of livelihoods that strikes a chord, do it. If it means danger to the population, life and safety, do it. But you start the process.
So the messaging will be different in different parts of the
Yes,
country.
it has to be different. But alongside that, let this not be just all talk and bluster. Convert this into a proper report from the Law Commission with proper consultation from security experts who have served in all these border areas, who have written extensive books on what is happening on the ground. People who have served there have specifically written what's happening on the ground. So you would bring them on board, publish this in as many languages as possible, especially in the sensitive areas. From there, you start working on the makings of a law, the trappings of a law. Work towards it. This process, if you start it, it's not going to take anything less than half a decade, at the very least. So when do you hope to start it? By 2029, when demographic inversion is complete? Or you see 30% across the board, then what do you do?
Or you lose a state.
That's it. You'll have to give up. How many Kashmirs will you fight in this country? My apologies for saying so. How many Kashmirs will you fight? The wherewithal and the will of the state and the society will be tested to its extremities.
Because everybody will say you have humanitarian obligations. You
Yeah.
cannot do this.
Right. So Poland can take that position, but Bharat can't. We are not taking a position that is anti-constitutional or unconstitutional. It is not contrary to humanitarian law. It's not contrary to international law. You need to articulate your position first. It can't be a matter of a couple of speeches here, a couple of speeches there. It's a good thing that they are featuring your speeches. Now it needs to translate to something. It can't be a lone voice from one particular constituency in Bihar who's constantly shouting about this. Because it's not limited to Bihar. It's gone all over the place. The biggest challenge to Bharat is not Pakistan's direct invasion or annexation of any state or conventional warfare with Pakistan.
You're talking about an implosion now.
It is a silent invasion that's been going on for decades now, and with a very clear thought process behind it. Starting from 1906, they've had their eyes on Bengal, Assam, Tripura, that entire region. And that Greater Bangladesh project is the one thing that we have not been able to address head on because it hides behind humanitarian concerns and economic concerns. So I think you need to set the ball rolling as quickly as possible.
When BJP gets blamed, the central government now gets blamed all the time for being communal, seeing everything through the religious prism. This will also be seen like that.
Good. So iska matlab kya hai? It's not a new certificate that you're going to get, right?
Yeah.
Naya to nahi hai.
Haan.
Now the good part is...
then you're on an apologetic foot.
Why? Okay, see, let's look at it this way. I am not a mouthpiece for the BJP. I don't hold brief for them.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking government of India right now.
I will speak as a person who believes that we need to preserve our position as the one possible homeland left for the civilization and its adherents. That's my bottom line. That's the only anvil on the basis of which I test everything. You call me, let's say, a single agenda person, whatever it doesn't make a difference to me. That's the bottom line for me. All your performance can go out of the window if this is not addressed. They matter, I'm not saying they don't, but all of that should be in the service of this. The organizing principles of a state are security under any circumstances. The primary existence, the purpose of its existence is security for its people, including internal security. Therefore, what I'm trying to say is, none of these labels have translated to electoral defeats either at the state level or the central level, Bihar being a case in point. It hasn't, right? Then I don't think it helps to say this has an optical impact on our electoral fortunes. No, it hasn't. Any performance or let's say lack of performance is not attributable to this label at the very least. It could be other local factors or something else, but not this.
Okay.
Okay, they've tried their best. It hasn't worked. Now, therefore, you don't have the excuse of saying that there is some optical reason because of which I have to take my foot off this pedal. No, you don't. Electorally also speaking, it doesn't make sense for you to not talk about this anymore because you can play the delimitation game only for a certain period of time. After that, when the numbers go up across the board, what delimitation are you going to play? Are you constantly going to do gerrymandering? Rather, gerrymandering, are you going to do this? It doesn't work. It's a stopgap band-aid. It doesn't change the reality, which you can see. The writing is on the wall.
So I'm going to come to that issue later. You mentioned the judiciary or the law. Do we need a new national migration law, a new one? And work should begin now?
One of the reasons that you had to come out with an amendment to the CAA is because you don't have a refugee law. Okay? We are in 2025, 6 years from 2019. I think now it's time for us to take a step back and address three aspects. What are the benchmarks for citizenship in this country? What are the challenges which we are currently facing, in light of which we need to revisit? Not people or existing citizens. How are we going about granting citizenships to people around? That's one. Second, our position with respect to refugees, asylum seekers, infiltrators, so on and so forth. We need to take a step back and come out with a holistic approach to this entire issue. Because demographics is the last, how do I put it? That's where the battle is. That's the bottom line. If here you concede ground and you yield space, that's the end of it. And the problem is, there are of course these regional sentiments that keep rearing their heads over and over again. That's a different issue altogether. But this also gives you an opportunity to present your vision to the larger population which still roots for you, to tell them this is the national vision. Please fall in line as far as this vision is concerned. Please understand what's going on. Otherwise, you will fall like a pack of dominoes, one after another. This batenge katenge has to be explained in a larger panoramic landscape.
You have a coalition government currently.
Right.
Do you think that they have the will, the mandate to do this?
Okay, who are the lead partners? BJP, TDP and JDU? That's it? That's all you're looking at? Which of these partners is going to say no to this?
Babu?
No, because there's another person who's a checkmate there. Who?
Pawan?
Exactly. Without Pawan Kalyan, Andhra Pradesh government will not stand. They know this. And Pawan Kalyan has been saying the right things. Except that I think he needs a systemic support. And I think the state BJP of Andhra Pradesh should start talking to him seriously. Because whether they like it or not, they don't have a local face which has his charisma and his pull. And his pull is not limited to the state of Andhra Pradesh. He has managed to actually stir the hornet's nest in Tamil Nadu as well. Okay?
Yeah, he went there.
He's done that.
Yeah.
He's gone and done that. Right? Therefore, you have a person who is willing to stick his neck out. Give him the resources necessary to get the job done, to make sure that this issue becomes a central issue for governance in Andhra Pradesh. It should not be limited only to developments in economics.
How will it help, or will it help Andhra Pradesh at all?
It will. Because the people on the ground, I have met a lot of people, including from the ruling party's cadre, who say that conversion is a massive issue. It's not, I'm not limiting myself to conversion of one hue. It's across the board. So therefore, that's a massive issue. And if the cadre takes it seriously, that means there will be a bottom-up pressure to say, please go ahead and get investments. We don't have a problem with it. But don't turn a blind eye to the security aspect of it.
Okay. Right. We've discussed that part of it. Now, the other demography changes that are happening, which is the North-South issue. States like UP, Bihar, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, high fertility rates. The southern states, which is Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, low fertility rates. Now, this is causing a kind of a demographic divergence. What is your view? How is this going to impact now on the polity?
I am grateful to the populations of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar for continuing to produce children. Yeah. Because that's what is keeping the demographic balance still in our favor. But for them, if you've gone subnuclear in the south, in terms of your family structure, what is the replacement ratio that you're looking at? Less than 2.
Yeah.
So recently somebody quoted this figure.
But this is even Muslims are producing less.
No, that's where you're getting exactly what I was coming to. Drop in fertility rate doesn't translate to having the same or similar numbers. From 3 to 2 or 4 to 2 is different from 10 to 6.
Okay.
So you're looking at it from a percentage point perspective, but it still translates to significant outproduction in terms of actual numbers. Okay?
Got it.
So that makes no argument. When someone says the fertility rates are dropping, that doesn't tell you the actual picture. It only means if somebody was producing 10, it has come down to 5. But if someone was producing 4 and has come down to less than 2, what do you think is worse? This argument doesn't cut ties. I'm sorry to say, I think people are making fools of us. Yeah. I know where this argument is. It smells and reeks of Hyderabadi biryani here. So,
Okay.
so I know that this is this absolutely illogical argument. I don't know which madrasa he learnt his mathematics from.
Yeah.
That's not how this works. Okay, this is not, I'm sorry, it's such a lousy argument to make. So therefore, this argument has no water whatsoever. So if we are subsidizing the populations of the north for producing people who can at least replace us in equal numbers, if not more, there's nothing wrong with it. Because that's the very same population that is sending you the migrant workforce.
Correct.
You can't say all of us will be white collared, but who's going to do the construction? And when they come, you start treating them like dehumanized labor. That's wrong.
But the chief ministers of the southern states are saying that they are coming and putting pressure
we
on
should be
our
very careful about
infrastructure.
this. We should be very careful about making this statement. Allow me to actually calibrate this. There is no unanimous monochromatic position in the south on the subject. Because the south is not represented by Tamil Nadu alone.
Telangana chief minister has also said that I don't have money now because...
Has TDP said this?
No.
Has Pawan Kalyan said this?
No, in fact, TDP has said have more children. Babu said that have more
Correct.
children.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means there is a certain ideology or a mindset that is hell-bent on pushing some kind of a wedge between the north and the south, citing this as one of those reasons. Will they then put some kind of restriction on the movement of labor? Then let's see who will implement the infrastructure projects. Where will they get the people from? They won't. We should stop saying this about people from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. That's wrong. It's not right.
They are borrowing from the Trump playbook, no?
Yeah.
That we'll hire locals. Why should we hire migrants?
See, the point is this.
They're calling them migrants, though
Then
they're
let's give the
Indians.
response which Trump has been getting in his own
I'm
country.
just playing the devil's
I get
advocate.
that.
I don't believe in it. But
I get that. My point is, if that's the case, if locals were up to the task and they were available, they would have done the job. Nobody is working as hard as them, at least as far as these tasks are concerned. Nobody is working as cheap as them. And the poor people are putting up with inhuman treatment. I don't need to be a spokesperson for Biharis and Uttar Pradeshis, but my point is they are Indians at the end of the day. And if you start playing into this nonsense, then tomorrow we'll have huge issues. These discordant notes will work to the advantage of external actors within this country. I use the words very carefully here, who will then ask them to join their group. What do you do then? If there's a disgruntled group far away from its home, which is getting inhuman treatment, who do you think is waiting on the sidelines to यहाँ आ जाओ, दूसरे घर में आ जाओ, घर वापसी मत करो, यहाँ पे आ जाओ, बोलने के लिए तो लोग तैयार हैं यहाँ पे. Then that big picture I will never lose sight of. These voices which have emerged in the south don't represent the people of the south.
Even if they're so sure.
No, because I'm talking to people. I am not affiliated with any political organization or even an ideological organization, for God's sakes, and God's here being in plural. I don't. I'm talking to people across the board. I have had members of the youth cadre from the most virulent of Dravidist factions coming to my office and telling me, sir, we don't disagree with you. We don't think like them.
Them bole to?
Like the Dravidian ideologues. We are not anti-Hindus. They've spoken, they've discussed. So stop treating the entire South, even and let's say some of these organizations as monoliths. There are factions within.
So there are identity debates which are happening even within those
Even within,
groups.
for sure.
Okay.
Yes. If there was a point when the DMK took pride in, let's say, taking out processions of Sri Ram with Chappal Mala around, and then you have the former finance minister of DMK basically saying, we actually consult the astrologer before we go for a swearing in ceremony.
But that is so typical.
No, it's not just typical. I'm just saying finally they are talking at least about it. There is a change. They know that they can't stop this anymore. There is only two options. Let's say there are only two options available in the south, at least in Tamil Nadu. go hard Dravidinist or realize that there's another tide coming, because the harder you go, you're actually opening the space for another ideology. So they'll have to find a center space. That's happening in pop culture, that's happening across the board. May not be at the same pace at which I want it. But what I'm trying to say is, people of the South are not like this. This is not how we operate. This is honestly not how we operate as Bharatiyas at all. And people of the South are not different from the Bharatiya civilization. So we need to be very careful about who we give the label of being the spokesperson of the South. I will not encourage that at all.
Not of the South, but every chief minister saying it, in the sense that they are talking about identity politics. They're talking about language issues, that, they come in and they talk in Hindi. It's happening in Karnataka. It's happening in Tamil Nadu. It's not so much in Andhra as far as language is concerned.
Right.
Andhra, United Andhra. If
Right.
you will. It's not so much there. But in these two states, it's language. In the other states, it could be something else. But
Right.
it is causing, this north-south divide is causing trouble.
See, the problem is when you mix gold with copper, which is, some of the issues are legitimate in terms of, let's say, loss of local identity. In the name of cosmopolitanism, the culture of Bangalore has changed. And they have those legitimate grievances where they're saying that at least learn a language. And I think we had this conversation
Yes.
in one of our previous
Earlier
podcasts.
episodes,
Right?
yes.
So that's there. But then it gets rolled and avalanched into a political position by someone else who sees a vested interest in driving a wedge between the North and the South. Okay? Which is why some of our organizations, including, let's say, either ideological organizations or state units of the BJP or someone else, should step in and start a counter movement. Everything can't come from the center. Some of these issues are local. In fact, if the center were to give a response to this, then it will be seen as a behemoth taking on a David. Okay? State units must talk about this. Localize the issue as much as possible. Let there be local voices to handle these issues, because they need to hear someone and see someone who they can relate to. It can't be someone from Delhi all the time. So I think that's something that you need to try. I'll give you a simpler example. Mr. Annamalai actually represented a fantastic response mechanism, notwithstanding whatever happened in elections, whose reasons I am not best positioned to analyze. He did a fantastic job of countering that propaganda. Every time they said the center has done nothing for us, he would actually explain it. Create more such voices on the ground. Ultimately, I don't need to teach a politician that messaging is half the battle won. Articulation is half the battle won. Where are you doing this when it comes to sensitive issues? If you think that none of this will have an electoral outcome at some stage, you're myopic. It will.
The other debate that keeps happening, which we referred to earlier, was that the South Indian states saying
Indians
that
from the southern states.
southern states saying that why should we reward the North, which is producing more people but not paying taxes? We pay more taxes. Why should we be funding the North states which are poor? For example, Bihar,
Right.
the direct benefit transfers that are happening in Bihar that happened before the election. So the
Right.
South states get really irritated with this.
So I think it was, again, I'll have to come back to one of the scintillating discussions and expositions by Mr. Annamalai, where he explained how the industrial revolution of Tamil Nadu was significantly subsidized by resources and policies where the North was playing, let's say, the role of the younger brother, where they willingly took that hit. Okay? There are times when you can think like a state, and there are times when I think you have to think like a country. And here I'm borrowing certain lines from the West Wing. Okay? What I'm trying to say is, you have to stop saying that we are paying or we are generating more. You cannot hope to exist as a state because you don't have the resources to exist as a state, whether it's water or anything else.
Defense.
Defense for that matter, you're right. So therefore, to say that my GDP as a state is a barometer of how independently I can survive, no, not possible. If you had existed as an island or a different country altogether, you wouldn't last a minute, security-wise or otherwise. You'd be gobbled up by the powers here. So, if you have to pay some price for existing as part of a union to protect your Tamil identity or your Telugu identity, perfectly fine, do it. There's nothing wrong with it. These are our people. There is a lot more that you get in return. Any day, I would be happy to be surrounded by Biharis and Uttar Pradesh, people of Uttar Pradesh who are from my civilization as opposed to Bangladeshis. There I've said it. I'm clear about it. I'm talking about Bangladeshis, so I don't think people should have a problem. Right? I said adherents of my civilization. I didn't identify anything in particular. So there, the answer stands there. You will not survive a minute. Please realize that the subcontinent is at the crossroads of the second big game, the second great game. No part of Bharat is untouched by it. Northeast, Punjab, Kashmir, the south, and you're providing even more elements from the south.
So we're getting new players to the new great game, or the same players with a different strategy?
China was not a part of this before until the Maoist revolution. Now it has joined the fray. Right? And I can never be sure of one group's, let's say one nation's support, which I think is playing both sides. A small nation in the Middle East. I don't know where it is currently right now. Maybe there are two sides to it. It has a genuine face to it. And I don't want to bank on anyone's support for my survival. I am going to observe at this point the policy of circumspection until proven otherwise.
Okay.
Okay. It's an issue to issue, policy to policy, situation to situation analysis. But I'm very clear that this entity has to be protected from everyone around.
Okay, let me rewind a little bit. We were talking about this fiscal federalism, right? Do you think that the tax devolution in this country is fair? Again, I'm talking about the states from the south who say that it's unfair. I'm coming back towards that. So, do you think that the trajectories are so diverse now, or divergent rather, that we need a new policy on this?
See, considering that a significant portion of your workforce is coming from the north, how do you actually make this statement?
Yeah.
How do you make this statement? Okay, I'll say this. I hope I don't get slippered for this at some point, or nobody throws ink on my face.
I love the term slippered.
Which is Mumbai is built by Parsis, Sindhis, and Gujaratis to a large extent, with the workforce coming from Maharashtrians to some extent, and from Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and across the board. Who gets to say who has contributed to this? Who gets to say that? Okay. Even today, the better part of Telangana infrastructure comes from Andhra investments and people from a so-called Andhra origin. What do you do then? Coimbatore, the bulk of its businesses are run by Kamavari Naidus or Balija Naidus. I know this. I've studied in the place. I know exactly who Balija Naidus or Kamavari Naidus are. These are people who are remnants of the Vijayanagar Empire. They are generals who have stayed back.
Okay.
How do you want to make this argument then? Similarly, if you go to parts of Madras, the Marwadis, the Saurashtrians, one of the most well-known singers of Tamil film industry, T.M. Soundararajan, was a Kutchi, was a Saurashtrian, was not a Tamilian.
Okay.
MGR was a Sri Lankan Malayali, not Tamil. Right? Jayalalitha was a Mysore Iyengar. What exactly are you talking about? How do you hope to actually say that this contribution is exclusive to this particular group?
Or the Marwadis of West Bengal.
Correct. So you go to Madurai. I remember Srimati M.S. Subbalakshmi setting up a charitable foundation or contributing, I think, a portion of her proceeds to a school run by Saurashtrians in Madurai. So I don't think this helps. This argument doesn't help. Since I'm not a finance or a tax expert, if someone says that this distribution, the way this is happening, doesn't seem to incentivize growth on the part of some people and puts the emphasis on growth on others, that's not an argument I will dismiss. I get that point. Let that be a fiscal argument. Let that be an administrative argument. Don't bring regionalism into that argument.
It is going to happen. This is going to blow up in 2026 with the delimitation exercise. This regionalism.
Politicians will do this. We have to push back. We have to push back.
We bole to kaun?
The common people with voices. I am not going to labor under the impression that I don't have a voice anymore. I do. Why will I actually act falsely modest? I have a voice, and therefore I will use it to say this is wrong. Wherever I can push back, I will. Wherever I have good relations with people across political parties, I will tell them, don't do this nonsense. I may not be a member, and that helps me maintain good relations with people to tell them this is wrong.
So you feel that this fear that the states in the south have, that the delimitation exercise which is going to take place in 2026 will change India's federal balance and to the detriment of south or the southern states?
I'll plead ignorance on that. I don't know. I don't know on what basis that is said. I don't have a position one way or another. If that's a statement that is made for rhetorical consumption without data to back it, I don't know.
It's population, right?
See, here's the thing.
That's going to be the main base.
See, let's put it this way. Synchronized census taking exercise in this country started in 1881. And ever since, there's been a tradition of holding it every 10 years. But it's not a constitutional mandate in that sense. So what happens usually is you take census, then you go for a delimitation based on the population so that there is a proper representation, so on and so forth. You do that exercise. Okay. If ultimately the southern states are going to pay the price for it, it's largely because they have suffered what I call the curse of white collarization. It's not something that's got to do with what the north is doing or the south is doing. I'll explain this.
That was supposed to be progressive.
At one point, that was actually presented as the goal. Now, world over, we are being told, sorry, we need to produce more. Whether it's Europe or Japan, everywhere else. We are being told this. Europe is a falling civilization partly because of its aging as well. They don't have the will. There is no genetic will to fight back.
Yeah.
That's a reality.
But it's happening in Asia too.
Correct.
Not just in Europe. It's happening.
China.
Yeah, China. It's happening in Japan.
Correct.
In all.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you're able to send this larger message, that's a different issue. Or can we try and compensate the southern states in a different way for producing this? But here's what I would suggest. In my view, the southern model, despite its progress on the development front, is not the ideal model from a demographic front. Okay? And sending the cream of your talent to California and then focusing on trying to retain whatever you have here in smaller numbers, that's not how you're going to protect your civilization. Okay? So if I were speaking for the South as a member of the South living in the North, I'll basically say, maybe you should introspect and ask yourself if your model is exactly correct. Is it the right model to follow? Because if that's the case, why is it that you're on the losing side when it comes to the demographic battle? That's the ultimate battle. And if there are members of the North who are willing to take that burden, why don't you think of this as subsidizing them, something that you've failed to do?
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching ANI podcast with Smita Prakash.
अगर हम उसको मस्जिद कहेंगे तो फिर विवाद होगा।
The issue is टूटा है क्या भारत?
400 पार का मतलब ये है कि संविधान खतरे में है।
क्या हम लोग ये निर्देश देते हैं कि फला को गिरफ्तार करके जेल डाल दें?
वही तो कह रहे हैं सब।
ये बेबुनियाद निराधार आरोप।
सच्चा सुनना चाहो देखो स्मिता प्रकाश ANI, it does not lie.